Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. In this review, we're going to be looking at a certain Nintendo eShop title, and for this one, we're going to be reviewing Battle Princess Madelyn, if I'm saying the name correctly, for the Nintendo Switch. Also available on PS4, Xbox One, PC Steam, Vita, and even the Wii U as well. Yes, even the Wii U. But for this review, we're going to be taking a look at the Nintendo Switch version. And if you're interested in any of the gameplay footage of me playing Battle Princess Madelyn, I'll have a link in the description below. For anybody who grew up during like the 80s and the 90s or those eras of gaming, there were many different kinds of 2D side-scrollers out there. One in particular was Capcom's classic Ghouls N Goblins series, or Ghouls and Ghosts. This was sort of a fun but very hard game to play, as you played the knight Arthur out to rescue the princess. And basically, it was basically like a two-hit though. When you get hit once, you lose your armor, and Arthur runs around pretty much in the underwear. Gets hit again, and he dies. It's still classic today, but it is still hard as hell, to be exact. And supposedly there were only like a few entries, one on the NES, Super NES, I believe the Sega Genesis had a version as well, and I do think there were some versions ported over. I think there was one ported over to the PSP, the PlayStation Portable though. And then in 2002 and 2004, Capcom sort of did a different take on the Ghouls N Goblins series by releasing the 3D game called Maximo Ghosts and Glory and Maximo versus the Army of Zin. And while it may not be on the same level as, say, maybe the Ghouls N Goblins though, it still had that charm and that feel to it. It was like a 3D platformer, 3D version of what Ghouls N Goblins would have been like in a way. Unfortunately, the developer Capcom Digital Studio sort of closed their doors after 2006, most likely after the reception of Final Fight Streetwise that came out. So it was very interesting to hear that a development team was developing a spiritual successor to the Ghouls N Goblins series. When they funded this on Kickstarter though, little disclaimer though, I'm one of the backers on that game, just to point that out, though, and that they were developing one. Supposedly, the developer was developing a game in honor of his daughter, who happens to be a fan of the classic Ghouls N Goblins series. And so what came of it was the game Battle Princess Madelyn. And after playing it for a bit, I will say that while Battle Princess Madelyn may not dethrone Arthur from Ghouls N Goblins or Maximo from the Maximo Ghosts and Glories and Army of Zin game, it still has that capture and feel to the Ghouls N Goblins series, and it sort of scratches that itch in a way. So why don't we get started with the pros and the cons? We'll start off first with the pros. Let me get my notes out as well. We'll start off the first one, pros. The visuals. I have to say, I really, really like the visuals in this game. I love the fact that the game gives off a bit of a 16-bit graphics to it, and some of the visuals in the game, especially the water to the background, looks nice and everything. It's amazing that this game was made by Unity, so that the developers used the Unity engine to make this. So from a visual perspective, I like the 16-bit retro throwback look to it. The next thing I do want to talk about is the gameplay. And the gameplay, like I said, mentioned about Ghouls N Goblins, the gameplay follows that classic Ghouls N Goblins approach to the game. You basically have like 2 hits though, or in some cases you may have certainly more depending on what armor you wear. And when you're down to 1 hit, you're down to basically you don't have your armor anymore, and once you're dead in that one. So it follows it that though, but it does shake up the formula a little bit, especially in story mode, which basically does make an attempt to give it sort of a metroidvania style and approach to the game. And some of the approaches they do is you have your like this little ghost that follows you, mostly the spirit of your dead dog, and basically every time you attack a certain amount of enemies though, you can use, they'll fill up a certain meter on the right side of your screen, I think, and every time you die though, you can come back to life. And technically you can have an infinite amount of lives, but you have to fill that meter up. Once that meter is empty, and if it's not filled all the way, if it's completely empty though, you have to start most likely at your last save point, or if you're playing arcade mode, at the beginning of the level. But there are a couple things, but I do like the classic gameplay, and I do like that they kind of shake up the formula just a teeny bit in the story mode in the game. And last but not least, I will say arcade mode is fun. I do enjoy that one. The gameplay is very similar to the classic Ghouls and Goblins, and if you're into that kind of if you like the Ghouls and Goblin games, you'll like the arcade mode and Battle Princess Madelyn. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and so forth. And like I said, if you're a fan of those type of games, Ghouls and Goblins or Maximo's Ghost to Glory type of games, then that kind of approach, then you'll probably like arcade mode in Battle Princess Madelyn. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2 of the cons, and also I want to give my thoughts on the demo that came out of Yoshi's Crafted World. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of the eShop title, also a multi-platform title as well, of Battle Princess Madelyn for the Nintendo Switch. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the Yoshi Crafted World demo that came out. So now that I gave you the pros of the game, why don't I start off with the cons? And there are really only 2 cons I could think of, at least for this game. We'll start off with the first one, and that is the story mode. And while I don't technically hate the story mode, I do applaud the developers for taking sort of like that metroidvania style of approach, though. I do feel that there were times in story modes where I felt a little bit lost, and I think some of it is like there are some side quests in the game and all, and I'm not hugely bothered by it, but it would have been nice if they sort of had like a bit of a checklist of any anything you do, any like side quests you completed. Also, I would also like to say that a mini map or a map would be useful in this game, so I certainly think that would have been useful, especially if you're aiming for sort of a Metroidvania style of approach for the story mode in Battle Princess Madelyn. So story mode, I don't hate it. I like the approach, but I do think there are some areas they could have worked on that one. And last but not least, I do want to say, as far as the difficulty of these games go, the difficulty, since it's mostly closely towards like a Ghouls and Goblins difficulty, and that might turn off some people, though. I'm not hugely bothered by this or anything like that, but there are some that might be, especially if you didn't grow up playing games like Ghouls and Goblins or Maximo, Ghosts of Glories, or the Army of Zin, and so forth. So the difficulty in the game is going to turn off some who didn't grow up with it. Those who grew up with those type of games won't have a big deal about it, or won't see it as a big issue, but for those who haven't, excuse me, that might be an issue for some. Overall, though, I certainly am having a fun time with Battle Princess Madelyn, though. While I don't see this dethroning like Ghouls and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts or Maximo Ghosts of Glory or Army of Zin, I still enjoy the game nevertheless. And I will applaud the development team that worked on this and made what looks like a spiritual successor to the Ghouls and Goblins series. And I also think it was nice for the developers to make this one in honor of his daughter, who's also happens to be a fan of the Ghouls and Goblins series, though. While it may not, like I said, it may not dethrone those games, but it is still fun, and here's to hoping it does well enough that not only do we get a sequel, but here's to hoping also that this may maybe convince Capcom to maybe revise their Ghouls and Goblins series. Hey, if Mega Man 11 can be successful, why not give Ghouls and Goblins a chance, or give Maximo another chance? I would love to see a port or a remake of the first one, a port or remake of the second one. I would love to see a third Maximo game if that ever happens, Capcom. So overall, It may not appeal to this game may not appeal to everyone though, but if you're a fan of games like Ghouls and Goblins or Maximo, then I would say give Battle Princess Madelyn a try. Try and see if that's the kind of game that interests you. Okay, before I end this video, I do want to talk about my thoughts on the demo that Nintendo released, which is for Yoshi's Crafted World. If you want to check out gameplay footage of me playing it, though, I'll have a link in the description on that. And I honestly will have to say it's pretty much a Yoshi game for those who have played any other Yoshi games in the past. For me, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi Island remains my favorite entry in the Yoshi series. And while other entries have been well, like Yoshi Island DS, Yoshi New Island, Yoshi Story, Yoshi Woolly World and all, none of them can hold a candle to, say, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi Island on the Super Nintendo when it was released back in 1995. And this one, I don't see that changing much. That's not to say the gameplay isn't fun. It follows the same tried and true formula of the Yoshi games. Yoshi can eat enemies, turn them into eggs. He can throw those eggs and perhaps discover hidden items and all that stuff. The interesting thing is the game, even though it's 2D though, the visuals have a 3D look to it. I think some of it could be the fact the game runs on the Unreal Engine 4 to be exact. And the visual art style of the game looks really nice. I like the whole cardboard cutout and arts and crafts in the level, so it really shows how video games can be a art form in a way. If I have one complaint about the demo based on my time with it though, is that perhaps maybe this is just because it's one level and all, but I felt like it was maybe a little bit too easy in a certain degree, and I would have liked to see them maybe up the difficulty a little bit, maybe on the same level as games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii or New Super Mario Bros. U or U Deluxe if you have the Switch version, like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Return or Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins, like those kind of difficulties a little bit, kind of like maybe scoot it up a bit. I understand they want to appeal to maybe certainly the casual market and so forth, but I also think at the same time they shouldn't abandon the hardcore market as well. So I do think the difficulty, my one big complaint is I would like to see the difficulty kind of go up just a bit, enough that provides that challenge based on especially the other 2D games I mentioned that provided that challenge. But overall, I like what I see so far. The gameplay looks fun and so forth. I just wish that they upped the difficulty just a bit. Okay, this concludes this video review of Battle Princess Madelyn for the Nintendo Switch and my thoughts on the Yoshi Crafted World demo. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Battle Princess Madelyn, though? Have you downloaded the game yet? Which version are you thinking about getting? Do you think the game is a good spiritual successor to the Ghouls N Goblins series? Or do you don't think it's that big of a success? Do you think it's another Mighty No. 9 situation? Or do you think that's maybe pushing it a little too far, though? Do you like story mode in the game? Do you like the arcade mode better? And what are your thoughts about the demo of Yoshi Crafted World? Have you tried the demo out? Do you like the game? Do you hate the game? Do you think the game is a little bit too easy? Do you think they should up the difficulty maybe a tad bit? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good evening then. Bye!